The Colorado Buffaloes had their pro day today, and I think there are some clear standouts from today's event. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at 5-Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Let's talk about it. The Colorado Buffaloes, they had their ain't hard to find combine today, and I think everyone was sort of wanting to know, right? Is Shedeur going to throw? Is Travis going to do drills at what position, right? Well, I think we sort of got our answers to a lot of things about that, right? I mean, Colorado's whole program is predicated on Coach Prime, and realistically, I think they all did quite well. Shedeur threw, and there was only, I believe he completed, let me pull up the numbers here, because I'll start with my winners, right? Winner number one, Shedeur Sanders, completed 62 of 67 passes. 3 of them were drops. So of those 5 incompletions, 3 of them were drop passes, which means the other 2 probably just not great throws, but we'll just go 65 of 67 for S and G's just to see what that percentage would be. Completed 97% of his passes. And for Shedeur Sanders, that's not an uncommon thing for him to complete a lot of passes because he did it all year, right? He had one of the most efficient college football seasons or completion percentages in college football history this past year. Another guy who I think made himself some money or worked himself up some draft boards was Jimmy Horn Jr. Now, Jimmy Horn Jr. has been a guy that I would say he's been talked about, right? He's been a guy who everyone knows about because he played at Colorado, got some buzz there. But his NFL Combine 40 wasn't where I thought it would be, right? I think he's probably one of the fastest guys in college football in open space, but his combine speed didn't really reflect that. He ran a 4.46, which wasn't bad, right? It was sort of in the middle. But today, he ran a 4.4 flat. So that's a really big improvement for him. I think scouts got to see him firsthand sort of gliding through on his 40-yard dash. Another guy who I thought walked away a winner today was Will Sheppard. Will Sheppard was not invited to the NFL Combine. I think that was a misjustice in itself. Ran a 4.56 and a 4.54 40, which those aren't burning speeds by any means. That puts him on par with Theo Weiss of Missouri and Trayshawn Holden and Kobe Hudson and Nick Nash of San Jose State, which still better than 5 receivers at the Combine. So he probably would have been in the middle. But that being said, Will Sheppard is a bigger dude at 6'2", a little bit over 200 pounds. He is a guy that teams understand he's bigger. He uses his strength. He's a brute sort of receiver. So I liked what I saw from him as well. And I think it's one of those things where when teams or the Combine, when you don't get a chance to go, right, this is his only and last time to really impress with them. And he also had a 40.5 vertical, which would have been third among all wide receivers. So he showed that he's decently quick. He could use his size to his ability, or he's always shown that he could use his size to his ability on the tape, but he also showed he has a nice vert, some nice hops, if you will. So I liked what I saw from Will Sheppard. I think another winner in a way is Shedeur Sanders. Now, and I'm going to talk about this, and we're going to get brutally honest. By the way, I wish I could have gone today, didn't get to go, because I'm going to give it a little shout out right here. My great-grandma turned 104, so we celebrated that today. So I was watching on the NFL Network with everyone else. But I think Shedeur Sanders had some bright moments, right? He didn't run the 4.4 40 that he wanted. That being said, his 40 time, I think, was around what I thought his, play on the field showed, right? I never thought Shedeur Sanders was slow. but I also didn't think he was a dynamic super athlete by any means, right? He ran his best 40 time was a 4.52, so that would be better than four guys at the four guys at the combine, and then his slowest time was a 4.59, which was tied for the slowest at the combine. I never thought Shedeur Sanders was going to be running the 4.3s, right? I know he had a goal of 4.4. Coach Prime himself told him he'd buy him a car if he ran a 4.4, which kind of tells me I don't know if he really thought that speed was there for him. That being said, Shedeur Sanders is a guy who PFF ranks as, I think, the 283rd prospect out of 300 prospects, right? There's only 250, I think it's 6 draft spots available in the upcoming draft. So Shedeur Sanders is a guy who, based off projections, 7th round, maybe 6th round as his ceiling, right? I think more people would say he's probably likely to go as a UDFA, which is fine because, and this isn't a slight on him, right? I think a lot of people, when you talk about prospects, it's like they're not going to get drafted. And it's like, okay, not everyone does. And we've had plenty of guys go undrafted and make themselves a career out of it, right? But he does have top end speed, right? On his pick 6 against Colorado State 2 years ago now, or 2 seasons ago, he hit 21.5 miles per hour. That's in the 81st percentile among safeties. So game speed for him is faster than his 40-yard dash, right? And I think that's important to know. And teams will see that. His broad jump was a 9.5. We'll see how that stacks up against the other safeties. See, the broad jump, nothing special there, right? That would have been the worst of all the safeties at the combine. So I think for Shiloh, right, his film is going to have to do the talking for him, right? His athleticism, he's not testing off the charts. I think his athleticism showed that he is at least an adequate athlete today, and I think NFL teams will value that, and I think they're going to value the Coach Prime endorsement. I talked to Bucky Brooks at the East-West Shrine Bowl, and he was like, having the Deion Sanders endorsement is a big deal. So I think someone takes a shot on Shedeur Sanders, and I think although he's not testing as one of the top athletes, I still think he gets an opportunity. He'll probably have to find his way onto a special teams unit and then work his way up there from there. That's how it goes. Another guy who I thought had a decent process this entire time was LeJontay Wester. He's quick, could do a little bit of everything, right? Pat Shurmur told him that he's been telling teams that he's a guy that can play in the slot, make big plays, return kicks, return punts. And I think that's sort of LeJontay's MO. So let's get to the guys who I don't think. Also, I want to give a shout out to Chidozie Nwankwo. 30 reps on the bench press would have been the most out of, I believe, all the defensive tackles, right, at the combine. The highest defensive tackle bench press was Jordan Phillips with 29. So Chidozie Nwankwo and Shane Cokes, was right behind him at 29. So those two guys would have been first and second at the combine. So really big showing for them on the bench. Guys who I think really hurt themselves, I wouldn't say hurt themselves, but didn't have the best day. I think you have to go, Travis J was out there, 4.640. When you're playing in the secondary and we'll call him a safety because I think he played a little bit of both for Colorado. I think he's more so of a safety. The slowest 40 at the combine was a 4.59. Travis J's fastest 40 was a 4.6, right? For reference, Mark Vissett's fastest 40 was a 4.65. Travis J's fastest was a 4.64. So based on the testing, Travis J is about as fast as the punter. Now, Mark Vissett, athletic guy himself, so I'm not trying to take away anything from him, but I don't think Travis J did himself any favors. A guy who's really going to need his film to do the talking is Cameron Craig. Brutal 40 times. He's already undersized. The 40 times didn't back up his performance, right? He brings other qualities to the table. He's a good leader, passionate, energetic, but his 40 time, 4.65 and 4.79. His 4.79 40 was actually the slowest of all the guys there, all the guys that tested today, all the guys that ran their 40, at least in terms of skill position guys. So, right, going to need the film to really do the talking. The interviews need to do the talking because the testing didn't, right? And I think for a guy like Cameron Craig, who I think you sort of have to, and this, again, this isn't me saying that these guys aren't going to be good pros, right? This is me going off of rankings that certain people have. And again, rankings don't mean everything. I think that's important to note. But he's a guy that's on the outside looking in of the top 300. And I don't think he did himself any favors. Whereas a guy like Will Shepard ranked 241st on PFF's top 300, LeJohntay Wester 243rd. So these guys, I think, both did themselves some pretty big favors. Jimmy Horn was 233rd. So those guys did them some favors. The other guys, not so much. And that's okay, right? I mean, there's not a straight line path to success in the NFL. And I think everyone knows that. I think there's opportunities for guys to help themselves. Like, say, Jimmy Horn or LeJohntay rattled off a 4.340. That shoots them up draft boards, right? Say Will Shepard at 6'3" or 6'2", however tall he is. I think he's 6'3". He runs a 4.4, right? That shoots him up draft boards, right? There's so many opportunities to help yourself in the draft process. That being said, the draft process doesn't make or break you. Some guys are just terrible testers, right? I mean, I think everybody's heard of this little known quarterback, Tom Brady. Yeah, he ran like a 10-minute 40-yard dash. Just did not look the part at all. But hey, he did just okay for himself in the NFL. So that's what I had to take or say about Colorado's Pro Day. I think Travis showed some route running, ability to catch a ball, which we all knew he had. So I don't think Travis really hurt himself, or helped himself, because I think teams already know, like, that dude's dynamic. He's an elite athlete, right? There wasn't much to learn about Travis. I think teams really needed to see Shedeur throw firsthand, because they talk themselves into quarterbacks, but they also can easily talk themselves out of quarterbacks. And so there's been a lot of deep ball questions about Shedeur. So of course he was throwing the deep ball today, and I think he did well, right? Like I said, only 5 incompletions, 3 of them were drops. So really strong day for Shedeur Sanders. When we come back, I'm going to be telling you about the landing spot that I think is perfect for Shedeur, and I think Deion Sanders may have hinted that he agrees with me. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Fabric. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's need. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You can be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. They give you peace of mind. As a parent, you want to make sure your family is financially protected no matter what happens, and Fabric gives me that peace of mind. Or gives parents that peace of mind. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policy issues by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Price is subject to underwriting and health questions. This episode of Locked on Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at PrizePicks. Let's talk about some PrizePicks right here. Baseball season is in full swing. There's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. PrizePicks keeps every game exciting. Building my lineup this week, I'm picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run and Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. Aaron Judge, the Yankees, they got the torpedo bats. Let's see him in action, right? PrizePicks is fast and simple. Setting up a lineup can take less than a minute, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out. Let's talk about it. Shedeur Sanders. I think I have a team that I think he should go to. I think it's the best of both worlds in the sense of it sets him up to succeed long-term with what's there, and I don't think it puts a lot of pressure on him right away. So there's been a lot of questions about where Shedeur will go. Will he fall in the draft? Some people say he's not a first-round pick. Some people say he's going to fall to the second. Some people say Jackson Dart's better. I disagree with that sentiment. I don't think Jackson Dart's better than Shedeur. That Florida game was all I needed to see at the end there. But I don't think Shedeur is going to fall in the first round. That being said, I don't know how likely it is that he goes in the top 5, and that's okay, right? You don't have to be a top 5 quarterback to still be a first round pick. Breaking news. But I do think there's a perfect landing spot for Shedeur. I don't know if he makes it that far, or I think he could. It's top 10 still. And I've been talking about it lately, and I'll give you the breakdown why. And the team is the New Orleans Saints. And if you guys were paying attention, Coach Prime pointed to the black and gold shirt he had on, said he liked it, which I think is a hint that he maybe wants him to go to the Big Easy, right? What do the Saints have that other teams don't? Well, they have Derek Carr, and I think Derek Carr, from all that I've gathered from people I've talked to, well-liked guy, right? I think he wouldn't mind mentoring Shedeur. They have Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave. They have weapons over there in New Orleans, right? They also have a young offensive-minded head coach in Kellen Moore who knows what it takes to win at the highest level. Just helped the Seahawks win the Eagles win a Super Bowl. He was a pivotal part of a lot of team success, right? Kellen Moore is a guy who is a great offensive mind, super young. I think he could set up Shedeur to succeed because I think he, as a quarterback that wasn't the most mobile or didn't have the biggest arm, I think he would understand Shedeur, right? So you have the coach, a quarterback who I think is on his last leg of his career but is willing to mentor, and they'll have some key players around him. I think that's a great fit because a lot of people, and I'll go through the teams. I've done it before and I'll do it again. The top 9 teams don't all make sense. The Titans are going to go Cam Ward, right? He's the odds-on favorite. I think is the odds the last time I saw over at FanDuel were minus 2,000 to go number 1. The Browns are going to be Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. The Giants, I think, are going to take whoever the Browns don't take. The Patriots, they are going to take probably an offensive tackle, right? Also, the Browns are, I think, from all the vibes I've been getting, are going to punt on this draft when it comes to getting a quarterback, or at least one in the first round. I think they may take like a Quinn Ewers or a Tyler Shuck later in the draft, but they don't need a quarterback. The Giants, they signed 2 quarterbacks. They don't need a quarterback, right? They have Russ. They have Jameis. That just seems like a really complex, awkward quarterback situation that I don't think Shedeur would fit in. The Pats don't need a quarterback. The Jags, Trevor Lawrence, don't need a quarterback. The Raiders just signed Geno Smith to an extension. I don't know why they'd spend all that money on a quarterback with an old head coach, because Pete Carroll is old. Granted, he's a great guy, but he's old. And then go draft a quarterback with the 6th pick. I think they go Ashton Genty, or they go at least a skill position guy that can help them sort of contend. Maybe they draft Shedeur later in the first, right? They could trade back into it, but I don't foresee that happening. The Jets, they have Justin Field. They kind of signed him to a lot of money. I don't think it's a ton of money. They think they could go quarterback, but I think they want to at least give him a shot. The Panthers have Bryce Young. So then it's like the team that absolutely could possibly need a quarterback and has the right setup is the Saints at 9. The Bears don't need a quarterback. The 49ers don't need a quarterback. Dallas at 12. They could take Shedeur, but that'd be pretty high when Dak has a lot of money. So I think Shedeur to the Saints makes some sense. I've been saying it for about a month or 2 now. So if I get it right, please come back and give me my flowers. If I get it wrong, you can come back and make fun of me. But I think the Saints make a lot of sense, and I think Deion Sanders hinted at it as well. So you guys comment below, which team do you think Shedeur Sanders should go to? When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Travis Hunter wide receiver, defensive back argument, because Coach Prime made an interesting point today, but I still don't think it's enough. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through, whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day. 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. It's on the go. It's convenient. Whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, and you can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. You don't want to miss out, right? Draft coverage is coming. The draft's coming. We're going to have some fun. Travis Hunter, can he play both ways in the NFL? I talked about it yesterday. Coach Prime is still making the argument. I think Travis is still kind of making the argument. Coach Prime said on the NFL draft or the NFL Network's show, the NFL is slower, right? It's not as physical anymore, because obviously defensively you can't hit players, blah, blah, blah. I get the sentiment, right? I really do. Travis Hunter, and this is me, let me take the glasses off. Travis Hunter is talented enough to play both ways. I don't think an NFL team is going to let him, at least not for the long run, right? I think Travis Hunter is gifted as an athlete. I think he's gifted as a football player, and I think he's gifted as a person. He seems like a great guy. That being said, he'll make more money as a receiver. He will have a longer career, more likely. And I think he makes more of an impact with the ball in his hands. As a corner, how often are teams going to throw at him, right? How much money is he going to make? Probably not as much. And what team is going to be like, you know what? You play two positions and we're going to play you for both, right? The best example is Jimmy Graham, right? He was a tight end that was so impactful in the passing attack that the Saints were like, that he wanted to be paid as a receiver. And the Saints were like, dude, no, you're a tight end. We line you up as tight end, right? Similar scenario, I think, obviously a little bit different, but I think it's the same vibes. And I just don't see a world where Travis Hunter is going to be allowed to play both ways full-time, because if you're playing two positions full-time, you're kind of playing them part-time, because he's not going to play 100 snaps a game. Also, I don't know how thrilled a team's going to be to have him on the field for, say, 20 snaps a game at whatever position, right? Then you're just wasted a top 5 pick on him, which he's the number one talent as an overall player, but you're trying to maximize him, right? Does Travis Hunter help you win a Super Bowl if he's not on the field for half the snaps for each side of the ball? I don't think so. So I understand the sentiment. I don't see it happening, but I guess I will find out. We will find out once he gets drafted. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of Locked on Buffs.